Neither player can fusion summon. Wait, does that mean I can't Xyz summon too? The effect is too complicated. So non-fusion area is a very simple continuous trap card that affects both players in the way that they can fusion summon, but not necessarily special summon fusion monsters, and there is a difference. This is important because under this floodgate, let's just say that your opponent had a Destiny or Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, destroyed it, and then you set it, and then next turn, you try to use it on your draw phase. It changes nothing to the fact that the Phoenix Enforcer will still revive itself back because it was already properly summoned, and all it is trying to do is special summon itself, and this card does not prevent fusion monsters from being summoned, but rather fusion summons from happening. This also means that you can still contact fuse for, let's say, Cameratic Fortress Dragon or Mega Fleet and Cyber Dragons, or Alba Renatis in the DESPIA deck. Again, different from a card like Dimensional Barrier because that card would actually prevent you from special summoning monsters of that card type. Again, it's just really important to be fully aware of the capabilities and weaknesses of a card before even considering playing it in the first place. But yeah, obviously this card is not a lingering card such as Dimensional Barrier, so if you get blown out by something like Cosmic Cyclone MST Twin Twister, you might not be in the best of moods because it only applies while it is face up on the field, whereas the barrier, if it gets hit by Twin Twister, you really couldn't care less because you only needed to flip the card in order to apply its effect and not necessarily keep it on the field. Now, the really cool thing about non-fusion area is that it applies continuous pressure, so unless your opponent is like heavily prepared or actually drew an out, you will always pretty much have a guaranteed win. And when I say isn't prepared, I'm not trying to talk about like physically prepared or emotionally or spiritually. No, none of that bullshit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if your opponent is playing like a one-trick pony strategy where all he really does is fusion summon and nothing else, like 15 fusion monsters in the extra deck, or like Anaconda would be your non-fusion or something like that. No Nightmare Phoenix, no Inherent Out, no Draco back with a Brave Token engine. Your opponent literally will look at this card and will be like, okay, well, now my only win condition is a Luber beatdown. But yeah, the Draco back equip spell is basically the counter to the counter because they're already playing that card anyways in the first place, so they're already kind of prepared for a card like non-fusion area, whereas nobody's really prepared for a card like Dimensional Barrier. There's almost nothing that you can do to stop the card outside of like Red Reboot, but that doesn't really count. We really are talking about a floodgate this time that can be outed with either back removal or just bouncing it back. Therefore, moving into a format where the most popular branded DESPIA build is the Brave Token one might actually mean that your non-fusion area won't always be enough. Now again, non-fusion area combined with any card is very similar to Nibiru combined with any card, as in you're pretty much always guaranteed to like stop your opponent. So Nibiru plus Valor is the Kryptonite to the combo decks, and non-fusion area plus something that can prevent your opponent from preventing you from preventing your opponents. Yeah, this was really confusing, I lost myself, but whatever. Non-fusion area plus something like Ghost Ogre on the equip spell is game. You wouldn't ogre the equip spell, you would actually ogre the Fateful Adventure, but whatever, you get the point, okay? And if you happen to draw 2 non-fusion area, well, all the better, because your opponent bounces back the first one, you just flip the second one, and ta-da, you win anyways. And the beauty about this card is the fact that it covers so much ground, since people are already playing Destiny or Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, and sometimes even Dragoon. You can actually just flip this card on the Fusion Destiny itself, and your opponent will not even summon the Phoenix Enforcer, nor send the materials like the very annoying Destiny or Celestial, rather. Since we already covered the fact that drawing duplicates is not necessarily a bad thing on its own, now let's try to move into the usability or practicality aspect of this card. You usually want to side deck this card and not really main deck it for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's not necessarily as good going second as it is going first, because going first you can actually make a lot of negates and have this card on top of that, or you can sponge your opponent's hand trap and then set this card, make your opponent lose a lot of momentum, and then next turn, you basically go for the kill. So this card is basically just a card that stops your opponents in their track for a little bit, and then you have a guaranteed win, just like people used to play D-Barrier back in the days. Whereas when you're going second, you're already in front of a pretty oppressive board with already fusion monsters there, so the real goal of going second is playing board-breaking cards and not necessarily preventing cards like Floodgate. Sometimes there are obviously exceptions, but I want to say this card might be much better going first than second. But another reason why you want to side deck this card and not really main deck this card, even in a DESPIA heavy format, would be because a lot of people will still be playing Eldritch and Flunderees, and you're not really trying to draw this card against the other deck. So if you are side decking this card, you're going to be heavily rewarded when you draw it, but you're never really going to be punished because you're only going to be seeing this card against the matchups that it's actually good against, and you don't have to compromise anything. So in conclusion, this card is actually better than Deep Barrier when you need a lot of time to kill, because obviously it stays on the field, it applies continuous pressure, but Deep Barrier is a little better because you don't necessarily lose to cards like Twin Twister, MST again, all those cards, even the Draco back equip spell. So regardless of what your opponent has, Deep Barrier is pretty much always guaranteed to resolve. So would you rather go for the card that is very good but only for one turn, or very good for a lot of turns but can actually lose to your opponent's counters? Let me know your answer in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.